WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Are you ready? Yes!
Now live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
Oh, man. Moon Taxi coming up at Martin's downtown. Great band. We'll tell you more about that. Newly renovated, expanded Martin's downtown. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Brought to you by Ribeyes, Bacon, and Bourbon. All at Kessler Prime in the Renaissance. Long Branch Bourbon Manhattan. Long Branch Bourbon Old Fashioned. And just a Long Branch Bourbon with a big rock and a big ribeye. KesslerPrime.com. This is 105.9 The Zone ESPN. We're continuing to roll the cameras. You can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Search Out of Bounds Sports on YouTube. We would love for you to subscribe. We're giving away a couple of big things. This Moon Taxi VIP thing worth $600 to Martin's. That's huge. We're also giving away, not today, but this week, a $500 cooler from Tito's. It's huge. How big is it, Blake? What is the gallons?
Oh, the Tito's one? Hold on. I'd have to go look. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
the kind of cooler that takes 3 to 4 guys to carry it down to the beach. It is huge. And the way to enter, I'm just going to go ahead and let you know, is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, Out of Bounds Sports. What's up? We're streaming live on thezone1059.com. The Ben Nelson Golf and Outdoors caller line is 601-707-3750. Twitter handle at Bo Bounds. Twitter at Bo Bounds. Hit us up. And your Ag Up equipment text line is 601-885-3776. True Maroon says good morning. Not exactly what he said, but I don't know if I can say that word on the air.
I actually don't know if you can. That's really funny. I'm not sure if you're allowed to or not.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
All right. You should be able to, but I don't know if you can.
If you want to know what he said, no. The Arctic cooler by Tito's is a 52 quart.
52 quart Tito's vodka.
Yeah. Arctic cooler. Yeah.
Arctic cooler worth $500, and then we're going to throw a bunch of stuff in there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Winter chicken dinner.
All right. I like that.
I do too. I may take it home. Sorry.
We may even throw a couple of Big Wave Gold Nails in there.
Oh.
Liquid Aloha. That's delicious beer. Chris Doring was fantastic. And we appreciate CD stopping by the show. Florida hasn't been good since. Mullen had 2 really good years. McElwain had a good year. Muschamp somehow had a good year. They went 11-2. They didn't score that year. They were unbelievable in defense. I know that doesn't surprise you with Will Muschamp. And Will's just not a head coach. He's just a lunatic defensive coordinator that recruits a lot, and he's been with big brands. He's always had good players. I mean, he's been at LSU, and he's been at Texas, and he's been at Auburn, and he's been at Florida. So, I mean, I know he spent some time at South Carolina. He didn't have elite players there, and it is what it is.
That 11-win Florida team in 2012.
I think they averaged like 11.3 points per game.
It wasn't that bad. They averaged 26 points a game, but that was 78th in the country.
78th in the country, and we're in the, Wendy and I were in New Orleans for the Florida-Louisville game in the Sugar Bowl that year.
Interesting.
And I didn't know that this was all happening, but I check into the hotel, and guess who's staying there?
Florida?
The Florida Gators.
Yeah.
And so I walk around the corner, and I'm roaming around trying to find probably a beer. And there's the Florida team coming out of one of the ballrooms. You know how they take all the ballrooms and they meet and they eat and all that. And later on in the, whenever maybe even later in the afternoon, we saw Charlie Strong and Louisville getting on their buses to go and do whatever they were doing, whether it was sightseeing or go to practice. And I guess that was like peak Charlie Strong.
Yeah, that
game got him the Texas job.
Well, he had Teddy Bridgewater, NFL QB at Louisville, and he had Devontae Parker, NFL wide receiver at Louisville. So, yeah.
And Bridgewater could play.
Yeah. Oh, especially Big East Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget that. I mean, that was a little.
Well, it was like Rich Rod at West Virginia.
Yeah.
Right? And there was one more team that got the juice out of the Big East. Oh, Virginia Tech. And Frank Beamer's an excellent coach, but because he was so good, he was working people. It just wasn't a great conference,
no.
And they took advantage of it with one Michael Vick, but he was excellent on special teams, technically sound. They played all unbelievable football, right?
Yeah,
they were Kansas State, but they had more talent because they were in the Mid-Atlantic region. Kansas State out in the middle of nowhere. What Beamer was able to do was they did recruit, and so they were Kansas State on steroids. And that's why they had the ability. That Mid-Atlantic region, as you know, has been booming for 5 decades. And they're players there. There's still players there that even SEC teams go and get. But Penn State dips down there. Michigan goes over there. Ohio State goes over there, and so on. But that's funny that Will Muschamp was referenced in that. There will still be an athletic director that's a sucker.
Yeah. Well, Ed Orgeron's coming back.
That will. I don't know about maybe.
Detillier seemed to believe he's 100% coming back.
Oh
to
no,
football.
he did, but he did mention assistant.
Yeah, but I mean,
and I don't think Ed can do that. I think Muschamp's barely hanging on
as an assistant. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's probably driving him crazy that his college friend and teammate is now the toast of the town in Athens.
Well, in the country.
In
two national titles in a row.
Absolutely.
That's the country. I mean, he was at the PGA Pro-Am talking with Jim Furyk. I mean, they didn't invite Will Muschamp to do that.
But all the SEC coaches to go to that.
No, I know.
But the point is, you're right. Kirby is the toast of college football right now. You're exactly right. It's no longer Nick Saban. And he had it for about 11 years, and then Kirby took it from him. And now you got Will Muschamp, who's his kind of de facto DC. And now the flip side is that's a great gig.
Yeah.
I mean, is it the Georgia defensive coordinator, knowing that you're going to have the best town in the country
every single day,
and you're in a state with 11 million people, and Atlanta is 55 miles down the road, that is as good as it gets.
I guess the only downside to being a Georgia coach is that after this season, you'll have to start playing a real schedule every year.
No doubt. Now, you just nailed it. The gap between the East and the West, and it's Kirby would have taken several more losses the last 7 years in Athens had he had to go through the gauntlet of the SEC West.
Yeah.
You are exactly right.
If they played the 3+6 the last 7 years, there's no doubt he's not winning at the level that he's winning at, because you play LSU, you play Bama, you play A&M, who we've proven, even though they can throw up on themselves, they can still beat Alabama in a 60-minute game. So they can beat Georgia in a 60-minute game. I mean, you'd play those teams over and over and over again.
Dan Mullen beat Georgia, and he didn't have close to the talent.
Yeah.
Okay. And Ohio State was right there. They've had some. That's right, though. If they weren't in the East, it would not have been as clean as it has been the last 6 years, and
spotless.
Especially playing for 3 and winning 2.
I mean, the last 2 seasons, has it been any? I don't want to say easier, because I understand that they're working, but has there been anything cleaner than like what Georgia's done the last 2 seasons?
And what we talked to Chris Doring about, the fact that Florida has fallen off.
Your best opponent hasn't existed for 5 years.
Yeah. He has no rival in the East. Not Florida, not Tennessee, and it's damn sure not South Carolina or Kentucky. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck. You know the drill, guys. Trucks, SUVs, Jeeps. Accessorize your vehicle bumper to bumper at Rick's Pro Truck. Or get your next set of tires, like Blake and I did for our cars, at Rick's Pro Truck in Gluckstadt, Flowwood, and RPT Commercial. Mike Detillier, 8:30. Oh, man. Mike Detillier on the Saints schedule. Who's looking after Who Dat Nation, Blake? You know, I think it goes to show you how, and this is not going to land well for Saints fans. Now, what's happened to you since 2005, right? You were boring and not interesting from 1967 to 2005. And I went to 1 million games as a kid. And then all of a sudden the magic happened. And man, was it fun. I went to a bunch of games. Not as many as a lot of you listening, but oh gosh, well over a dozen during the Breeze Sean years. In fact, this is a good story, Blake. I'm doing a live remote from New Orleans in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the BankPlus guys called me. They're like, hey, you want to meet at the stadium?
Oh.
And I'm like, not really.
Huh.
And this is where I was. I had broken up with New Orleans Saints football, right? I mean, I lived
Yeah, everyone had.
right? I mean, they were just not good, not entertaining. Even when they would win 9 games, it was all on defense. It was much like Mississippi State, right? And like Jackie Sherrill was winning fun for Mississippi State fans? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it was rare that they really did anything offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to figure out, I don't really want to go. Well, I went up there, because I was down in the warehouse district. I ended up going up there. I had a blast. I didn't realize how everything had changed. And from there, they start winning, and you know the drill, Blake. But the Saints are 2 years removed from being good, and they didn't land any big games. And this just goes to show you the difference between even though the New Orleans Saints have won more than the Dallas Cowboys since 2006, they've won a Super Bowl. I mean, they have lived in the playoffs, a couple more NFC championship games. And I wish they would have won another Super Bowl. And I think they got hosed, no doubt. But as soon as you're not good and you're some of these franchises, you're done. With the Cowboys, look at the marquee games that they drew. Saints aren't going to draw marquee games.
No.
Unless you got Breeze and Peyton and you're rolling. The Cowboys, on the other hand, can go, they can go 6-11, and the next year they're still going to pull marquee games. They're still a bigger brand than the New York Football Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are unbelievable and have been winning forever. Forever. And they're kind of that, blue blood up in the Northeast. But you look at the Saints and what they pulled, Blake, and the fact that they don't play, we're debating who's the best quarterback they face this year. It's either Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, or Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And then they face a bunch of rookies and guys who haven't played. So Saints fans, before you get all hot and bothered, hey, credit to you for pulling. I wish Dak Prescott would have pulled that schedule. I wish Dallas didn't draw the eyeballs, believe it or not.
Huh.
I just want Dak to win. But Dak gets at San Francisco, at the Bills, at the Chargers. Because the Cowboys are going to draw. They're going to be in the window. Look at the Saints. They're not going to have that many primetime games. As soon as Breeze and Peyton, as soon as the magic and the combo and the duo and all that was gone, doesn't mean that New Orleans isn't still big. Any team in the NFL is big. I mean, even the Jacksonville Jaguars pull some viewers. But, the bottom line is look at what the Cowboys drew. And they haven't been to an NFC championship game in almost 30 years. And the Saints lived in the playoffs since 2006 with Drew and Sean. And the Saints they're playing a bunch of rookies and a bunch of games that the common fan looks at and goes, I'm not interested in that. But I think the best quarterback they play is a healthy Matthew Stafford, an up-and-coming Trevor Lawrence, and an underrated Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean that's
Blake may disagree, but those
it.
are the three that we look at right now.
And I think the irony is, and I know that the Saints didn't inherently plan this. When you get matched up,
I'm not taking a shot.
No, I know. I'm saying
it's just reality.
Yeah, it's what you got. When you get matched up with one division that had 2 rookie quarterbacks drafted, and also there was a rookie quarterback drafted in your division, that just doesn't happen. You get to pull 3 rookies, Bryce Young, which actually. The Panthers have said Bryce Young is not the starter.
I saw that.
Andy Dalton is the starter in Carolina, which is incredible. You want to talk about a guy who's made a career being just at the right place at the right time? Andy Dalton the last 6 years.
You know, they say that like roaches will survive a nuclear holocaust.
Andy Dalton and Chase Daniel.
Yeah, exactly. All right, go ahead.
So they play Bryce Young twice, theoretically, if he starts for the Panthers, or Andy Dalton. Either way, that's a win. They play C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson out of the AFC South. Which doesn't happen. But then also in your division, you have Atlanta starting Desmond Ridder, who has about 30 minutes of game time. And then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who might be the worst roster in the league. And also they're starting some weird combination of Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask.
That is beautiful.
It's incredible.
The Saints have to go 10-7. Derek Carr and Dennis Allen have. Now, what if the Saints would have gone and gotten the next, like, Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Sean, and Dennis Allen, it may work out, okay? I don't have anything against him, don't know him, obviously, whatever. But what if the Saints wouldn't have gone in-house? That was kind of a college-y hire. Mm-hmm. What if they don't go in-house and they go get the next guy out of the Buffalo Bills tree, the 49ers tree, the Chiefs tree, the Rams tree, where else? That's enough. What if they did that? And then you land this schedule.
Yeah.
And you had a guy who had cut his teeth last year, and now he's got Derek Carr, who's an upgrade, Chris Olave, who you really like.
Yeah, he's a freak last year.
Michael Thomas, and you still got a defense that, although is long in the tooth, you feel good about. Todd makes a great point. You got one home night game and no 3 p.m. home games.
That's almost unbelievable.
That's what the league thinks about New Orleans when they go from winning 10, 11, 12, 13 games a year to basically being 500. I know you can't be 500, but basically an 8 and 18.
Look at the difference, too, though. Look at the other brands that are playing exciting and entertaining football, even if they lose, right? The Chargers. Justin Herbert is way more fun to watch than the Saints were the last 2 seasons.
Right.
Joe Burrow up and coming. Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Way more fun to watch Trevor Lawrence play than it has been to watch some weird combination of Andy Dalton.
Dak and the Cowboys, who
yeah.
haven't had the success.
Yeah.
Are way more entertaining.
That's at least a good brand. I was even thinking non-brand.
Oh, I got you.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking of teams that are like New Orleans, where they don't matter if their team is entertaining, but their teams are entertaining even if they're losing. The brand is who cares about the Bengals? Nobody cares about the Bengals, but Joe Burrow is entertaining.
And so,
I mean, to some
and
extent,
then look at the Bills.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I mean, New Orleans is 100 million times cooler than New Orleans
city,
and the Saints and the city and than the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, but Josh Allen is incredible to watch.
Exactly.
And
now,
no one wants to
if
not
Derek
watch him.
finds some magic this year, they will grab another 1 or 2 marquee games the next year.
And there is some flex opportunity down the line.
And if you, by the way, if you rip off 4 wins in a row,
there's some opportunity there.
You will be flexed into a different window.
Yeah,
you are exactly right.
It's going to be interesting to see how that is a new kind of nuance to the NFL schedule.
So if Derek Carr, what about the streaming of Peacock wildcard game?
Well,
and they paid $110 million.
Yeah.
I mean, NBC Peacock paid $110 million for one game, and it's only streaming.
It's Amazon Prime 2.0, right? This is the new wave of the NFL.
At least Amazon has Amazon to sell.
Correct.
As far as, hey, we also have this other business.
Yeah.
And while we're putting the game on, I want to push Blake Scott there to buy a watch.
Yeah. And we're doing
some
a whole
cool headsets.
a whole season of games.
Or whatever whatever you want.
Yeah. No, Peacock is purely a streaming service. Yeah, it's interesting. It's revolutionary.
The Out of Bounds show is driven by the brand new, all new Nissan Pathfinder at Cannon Nissan in Jackson. It's a really, really good-looking SUV. Don't forget about their crossover, the Nissan Rogue at Cannon. Cannon Jackson. Cannon Nissan in Jackson. Mike Detillier next.